Hey, welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about conspiracy theories that Trump has brought up during his campaign. I want to follow up on that and ask what the press is perhaps still missing about the presumptive GOP nominee. Let me bring back Kayleigh McEnany, a CNN political commentator. She's in Sacramento today. And here in New York with me, Joseph Borelli, a councilman for the 51st District in New York City and the co-chair of Donald Trump's New York campaign. Kayleigh, I want to ask you about this week's controversy involving Ted Cruz's father. When something like that happens, when Trump brings it up and creates a news cycle out of something that is unproven, does part of you at least wish it didn't happen, wish he wouldn't express those sorts of beliefs on TV or on phone-ins?
You know, he mentioned why hasn't the media looked into this, but I agree that you should never cite a story from the National Enquirer, and it kind of took us off message. So, I definitely agree with you there. It's probably not a source you want to cite, but he mentioned it in passing, and instead of focusing on him being the nominee, we talk about this time and time again. So yeah, you probably shouldn't mention it, but that's not the big story. I think the big story is he's about to have more votes than any Republican nominee in presidential history.
Joe, what was your reaction to this Inquirer thing, though? I mean, I'm of the view that we can't pretend like other media doesn't exist, right? If it's on the front page of the Inquirer, people are seeing it at the supermarket, I think we have to knock that information down. Check it out, see if it's true, knock it down. Don't you think it hurts his campaign over the long term, though, to espouse conspiracy theories?
Look, I think like Kayleigh mentioned, I think it does detract from some of the better articles that could have been written about him when he was clinching the nomination. That said, look, people do sit at the grocery line and they see the National Enquirer, and it kind of endears him to a lot of people who lead quite regular lives and don't read National Review, for example.
Yeah,
most people probably read the National Enquirer
right.
than National Review.
So, Kayleigh, the way this came up was an interview on Fox News. It was a call into Fox and Friends. Do you think this free media strategy by Trump will continue into the general election campaign? Do you have any insight on that?
I don't have any insight from the campaign, but, I will say that him being in the headlines, him being a constant story, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because on one hand, you have a group who says this has helped him, this is the reason he's the nominee. But on the other hand, this media coverage has been extraordinarily negative. Every week, I looked forward to waking up to see what the media was saying. Now, he was a racist, he was a xenophobe, Islamophobic. Every week, it was something new, and the voters were able to see through the bias and say, we see this person for who he is, not the caricature the media is trying to make him out to be. So I think the media coverage has been a double-edged sword, but in the end, I think voters were able to see through it, and they'll continue to.
I agree with you. It's important when we talk about over-coverage or disproportionate coverage of Trump that some of it has been negative. Joe, what do you think is still misunderstood by commentators on television who are anti-Trump, or by journalists who are very skeptical of his campaign? What is still misunderstood about his appeal?
I think people, whether they be in the Beltway or whether they be in sort of this mainstream media, don't really understand that Trump has a better ability, even as someone who's a billionaire, a better ability to bond with regular people than most people of that class. Take this.
Do you think that came from The Apprentice? Where do you think that came from?
I don't know. I've met him a number of times, and he's always come off as rather normal in person. But take this taco tweet thing. Media was talking about it and went head over heels for almost a couple of days about it. Juxtapose that with Hillary Clinton, who came here to Brooklyn and went to Junior's Cheesecake and absolutely refused to even touch the cheesecake. What do you think voters find more odd?
What if he had posted a tweet, though, talking about fried chicken and saying, I love blacks? I mean, don't you think he was setting himself up for racial debates on cable news by posting that and saying, I love Hispanics?
Look, he is not the first candidate to ever eat ethnic foods or do something to appeal to a broader array of people. Ted Cruz was here rolling matzahs, eating Dominican food. Look, Donald Trump does it in a way that is probably different from every other candidate, but guess what? It's working. We've seen it time and time again. He's gotten, obviously, the most votes in the Republican nomination, but we're going to see him have probably more votes than Hillary Clinton at the end.